Everything you're doing to fix your relationship after a betrayal is probably making it worse. The real path to rebuilding intimacy isn't about us. It's about you. Here's why. You check their phone when they're in the shower. Every time they're late coming home, your stomach plummets into that familiar abyss of dread. You lie in bed next to them, separated by a canyon of silence. Both of you are desperate to feel close again but terrified of making the first move. You're trapped in a nightmare of suspicion and fear, a painful loop where every attempt to force connection only seems to amplify the distance between you. You want to trust again. You want to feel safe. You want to rebuild the intimacy you lost. But what if I told you that everything you've been trying, the forced date nights, the constant, we need to talk moments, the desperate push for togetherness, is the very thing keeping you stuck? What if the real path to getting us back starts not with the two of you, but by focusing entirely and radically on you? It's not what you think, and it's not what you've been told, but it is the one path that leads out of the wreckage and toward a connection that is stronger and more authentic than anything you had before. The problem, the painful loop of forced togetherness. After the ground-shattering discovery of betrayal, the most common instinct is to cling. The betrayed partner seeks constant reassurance, and the one who betrayed often tries to overcompensate with gestures of closeness. We believe that if we just spend enough time together, talk about it enough, and manufacture enough positive moments, we can paper over the cracks and find our way back to normal. But this approach almost never works. In fact, it often makes things worse. Trying to force intimacy after a betrayal is like trying to build a new house on a foundation that's been pulverized by an earthquake. You can put up walls and hang pictures, but the entire structure is unstable. Every aftershock of a memory, every trigger, every flicker of doubt sends cracks through the facade. This state of high alert has a name: hypervigilance. It's a trauma response where your nervous system is perpetually scanning for danger. That knot in your stomach, the racing heart, the obsessive thoughts, that is your body in survival mode. When you're in survival mode, genuine intimacy is impossible. You can't be vulnerable when you're wearing emotional armor. You can't connect when your primary goal is self-protection. Forcing togetherness in this state creates a toxic dynamic. The betrayed partner feels like they are performing intimacy, which feels inauthentic and unsafe. The partner who was unfaithful often grows impatient or frustrated with the constant need for reassurance, which the betrayed partner then interprets as a lack of remorse, and the painful cycle continues. You end up in a loop of performance and suspicion. You have date nights, where neither of you is present. You have sex that feels hollow or even triggering, leaving you feeling more alone than before. You are physically together, but emotionally, you're miles apart. This desperate attempt to glue the relationship back together without first healing the individuals within it is the single biggest mistake couples make. Before you can rebuild us, you have to rebuild you, the turning point, a new foundation. So, what's the answer? It's a profound and counterintuitive shift in focus. The path to true, lasting intimacy after betrayal begins not with togetherness, but with separation. Not a permanent separation, but a strategic, intentional pause. It begins not by demanding that your partner make you feel safe, but by learning to create safety within yourself. This is where the real work begins. It's a journey built on two pillars that have to be constructed before you can even think about building a new life together. The first pillar is individual healing. This is about stepping away from the we to rediscover the I. It's about giving yourself space to process, grieve, and find your own 2 feet again. The second and most crucial pillar is radical self-compassion. This is the secret ingredient that lets you lay down the armor of hypervigilance and quiet the war raging inside you. It's the practice that ultimately creates the internal safety necessary for real connection to bloom again. Only when both partners have done this individual work can they come back together to build something new, not on the rubble of the old relationship, but on the solid ground of two whole, healed individuals. The first pillar: the power of individual healing. The idea of taking space after a betrayal can feel terrifying. It can seem like you're letting go or giving up. But this isn't about distance, it's about creating the necessary room for true healing to begin. First, this means taking a deliberate pause from pressured intimacy. For many couples, this is the most effective first step. This might mean a temporary break from sexual intimacy or even sleeping in separate rooms for a set period. This isn't a punishment, it's a pressure release valve. It gives both partners the space to breathe and process the trauma without the expectation of physical connection, which can feel loaded and unsafe for both. The second part of individual healing is seeking professional guidance individually. Many couples rush into joint therapy, but therapists often recommend that individual work comes first, especially when the betrayal was discovered rather than disclosed voluntarily. For the betrayed partner, individual therapy provides a safe space to process the intense grief, anger, and trauma without having to manage their partner's feelings of guilt or defensiveness. Research shows that the emotional shock of betrayal can resemble PTSD, and professional support is critical for navigating this. For the partner who was unfaithful, individual therapy is essential for understanding the root causes of their actions. It's a space to explore the unmet needs or patterns of avoidance that led to the betrayal, moving beyond shame and toward genuine accountability. Finally, individual healing is about rediscovering who you are outside of the relationship. Betrayal can shatter your sense of self. This is the time to reclaim that person. Reconnect with friends. Pick up a hobby that once brought you joy. Go for walks in nature. Journal your thoughts and feelings, no matter how messy they are. This isn't about distracting yourself from the pain. It's about rebuilding your self-worth from the inside out. It's about remembering that you are a whole and complete person on your own. When you start to feel grounded in your own identity, you are no longer dependent on your partner's actions for your sense of stability. You begin to build an inner anchor. Setting boundaries is a crucial part of this. Boundaries are not walls to keep your partner out, they are markers of self-respect. This might mean saying, "I can't talk about the affair after 9 p.m. because I need to be able to sleep," or, "I need you to be fully transparent about your whereabouts for me to feel safe right now." These boundaries aren't about control, they are about defining what you need to survive this storm. They are an act of profound self-care. The second pillar: radical self-compassion, the true source of safety. This second pillar is perhaps the most transformative, yet also the most difficult. After betrayal, especially for the one who was hurt, the inner critic often becomes relentless. How could I have been so stupid? Why wasn't I enough? I should have seen the signs. This internal voice is the voice of shame, and it's a poison that keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-blame. Radical self-compassion is the antidote. It's not self-pity or making excuses. It's the practice of treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a dear friend who was suffering. It's about acknowledging your pain without judgment. From a psychological perspective, self-compassion is a powerful tool for emotional regulation. It calms your nervous system, reduces reactivity, and dials down the hypervigilance that keeps you in survival mode. When you stop fighting a war with yourself, you create a state of internal safety. And only when you feel safe inside your own skin can you begin to feel safe with another person. So, how do you practice this? It starts with small, deliberate actions. One powerful technique is the self-compassion break. When you feel a wave of pain, shame, or anger, just pause. Place your hands over your heart or on your stomach, gesture that is physically soothing. Take a few deep breaths. And then, offer yourself these 3 truths. First, acknowledge your suffering. This is a moment of pain. Second, connect to our common humanity. Pain is a part of life. Other people have felt this way. This reminds you that you aren't alone in your suffering. And third, offer yourself kindness. May I be kind to myself at this moment? You can even use phrases like, I am doing the best I can right now. Another practice is mindful breathing. When you feel overwhelmed, just focus on your breath. Inhale slowly for a count of 4 and exhale for a count of 6. That longer exhale helps activate the part of your nervous system that has a calming effect. As you breathe, simply notice the painful thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them. Label them. This is grief. This is anger. By observing your pain instead of becoming it, you create space for it to move through you without consuming you. For the person who was unfaithful, self-compassion is equally vital. The natural response is to drown in guilt and shame, but shame paralyzes you. It makes you defensive and unable to show up with the empathy your partner needs. Self-compassion allows you to acknowledge the profound harm you've caused while also recognizing your own humanity. It's the difference between saying, I am a terrible person, and, I did a terrible thing, and I am committed to repairing the harm and becoming a better person. This individual work is the unpaid, unglamorous, and essential foundation for rebuilding. It's slow, difficult, and it happens alone. But is the only way to build something that can last. By focusing on your own healing and cultivating radical self-compassion, you create the internal safety that makes true connection possible again. If you're ready to stop the painful cycle and start the real journey back to connection, this video is your guide. Healing is possible. Stay posted for part 2.